Okay. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalam ala khatimin nabiyyin nabiyana Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa ashabi ajmain. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma. Rabbi zidni ilma. Rabbi zidni ilma. Okay, inshallah. We are starting our session after the Ramzan break. So I welcome you all. Okay, we'll start with a recap of what we learned in the last session. Okay, last session we did from ayat number 21 to 25. Inshallah, we'll quickly recap what we learned. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al Qiyamah, ayat number 21, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَتَزُرُونَ الْآخِرَةِ, and leave the hereafter. Contrast of destinies. This neglect of the hereafter is immediately contrasted in the following ayat, 22 to 25. We'll see that inshallah, which describes the two final outcomes. For the believers, those who did not neglect the hereafter will have radiant faces, looking towards their Lord. For the disbelievers, those who neglect it will have a distorted, gloomy faces, anticipating a crushing calamity. Tazaruna, leave or neglect. Finally, this term implies more than just forgetting. It suggests a deliberate casting aside or abandonment of the hereafter in favor of the al-ajila, that is the immediate world. In ayat number 22, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Wujuhui yawmaizin nadira. Some faces that day will be radiant. Radiant faces, the word nadira, signifies faces full of splendor, happiness, and delight, a reflection of the immense blessings and proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the paradise. Believer's reward. It describes the state of the righteous who believed in the hereafter, worked accordingly, and gave up worldly temptations for eternal gain. Vision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This ayah, coupled with the next ayah, looking at the Lord, points to the greatest reward for the believers. The beatific vision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeing Him subhanahu wa ta'ala with their own eyes, a central belief of Ahlus Sunnah. Contrast, it highlights the stark difference between the joyful, satisfied believers and the heedless disbelievers. Ayat number 23, Ila Rabbiha Nadira, looking at their Lord. The vision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, most scholars agree, this ayah confirms that the inhabitants of paradise will literally see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with their eyes. This vision is described as the greatest reward, surpassing all other delights of paradise. Context with ayat number 22. This ayah must be read with the preceding one. Faces on the day will be radiant. Together, they describe the righteous whose faces glow with joy because they are gazing upon their Creator. Clarity of the vision, Sahih Ahadith. Compare the clarity of this vision to seeing the sun or the full moon on a cloudless day, emphasizing that it will be direct and undisputed for the believers. وَوُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ بَاسِرَةٌ. And some faces that day will be contorted. The gloomy countenance, the sad or gloomy, that is Basira, faces belong to the sinners and rejectors of the truth who now understand the severity of their situation. Context: this follows the description of believers who will have bright faces looking towards their Lord, creating a stark contrast with the gloom of the wicked. Cause of sorrow. They are distorted because they realize the error of their ways, having neglected the hereafter in favor of the transient life of this world. Internal state, their internal dread is manifested physically in their facial expressions due to the imminent doom they face. Continuing the ayah. This ayah highlights that the arrogance displayed by the deniers in this life will transform into overwhelming sorrow and fear when confronted with the ultimate reality of resurrection. Then in ayat number 25, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Tazunnu an yaf'ala biha fakhira, expecting that there will be done to them something backbreaking. The literal meaning of fakhira in Arabic word fakhira refers to a back-breaking calamity. It is derived from the word fakhr, which refers to the vertebrae of the back. In this context, it signifies a punishment so severe that it breaks the spine. A state of certainty. Scholars explain that the word tazunnu, translated as thinking or anticipating, actually means they will have certainty, that is the yaqeen, that they are about to be destroyed or entered into the hellfire. Contrast with the believers. This ayah serves as a stark contrast to ayat number 22 and 23. While the believers' faces are bright and joyous, the faces of the disbelievers are described as basira, gloomy, distorted, and or frowning. Okay, inshallah, we'll start from passage number 6, that is ayat number 26 to 30, inshallah. Main highlights from these 5, the misconception that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will let people escape without punishment. The second point is everyone will have to face the agony of death. Agony of death. And in this state of helplessness, will have no take the journey towards his Lord. The third point is Allah informs of the condition at the time of the death and what terror it contains. So let's quickly look at these ayahs very quickly. So ayat number 26, it says Kalla iza balaghatit tarahi wa khila man raqa wa zanna annahu firaq wa taqfatis saqu bis-saq ila rabbika yawma izin lil masaq. So inshallah, we'll take one ayah at a time. The first ayah is ayat number 26. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kalla iza balagatit tarahi. No, when the soul has reached the collarbones. So inshallah, first we'll look at the word for word translation, then we'll go into the ayah itself. The first word is kalla. You know, kalla is like a separate. It means no, not at all. You know, Allah is so angry. Allah is shouting at the people, and Allah is saying, no, not at all. What you are thinking is wrong. Kalla, no, aversion particle, harfu radai was zajar. That means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, zajar and radai means Allah is shouting at them. Allah is so angry. Allah is telling them, whatever you are thinking, whatever your belief is, no, that's not the thing. What is the real, calamity? What is the real reality? Iza balagatit tarahi. Iza is when. Time adverb, zarf zama, balagat. It reaches. Yeah, balagat, it reaches. Now I have put in the bracket feminine noun. Yeah, so feminine noun, I'm going to repeat this again a couple of times. Yeah, this is for the ruh. You know, the ruh in Arabic language is feminine noun. So that's why it is balagat. Yeah, it reaches. Perfect word, fail, madin. At-tarah or at-tarahi, the collarbones. Yeah, we'll see that inshallah. Noun is mansub. Kalla iza balaghatit tarahi. No, when the soul has reached the collarbones. Yeah. So you can see here the word soul is not in the Arabic language. Those who are slaves to the worldly pleasures are reminded of the agonies of the death and the state of helplessness a person will be in on the day of judgment. They should not regard the day of judgment to be doubtful. It will definitely come, and they will have to take the long journey back to the Lord. Now, I think we have discussed, I think in one of the previous classes about what happens when the person dies. Yeah, what happens when the believer dies, who has got iman, and what happens when a person who is a disbeliever, he dies. I think I have given you in detail. Yeah, until they go inside the grave. So let's continue with the subject matter. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, definitely, when your soul is reaching your collarbone. Yeah, when they're reaching collarbone. Let's try to understand a little bit more about what exactly it means reaching the collarbone. But definitely, as soon as a person dies, yeah, according to majority of the scholars, as soon as the person dies, his day of judgment is started. That means there is nothing in between. So he will go and he will be in the grave, and he feel that he had slept in the grave or wherever he was. Yeah, markhat. In that markhat, he was there for a few hours or a little bit of time. Then he will be resurrected on the day of judgment. That means as soon as the person dies, his judgment is started. So their vigor and enthusiasm will end. Whatever power they had, if you have observed anybody who is dying in front of your eyes, then you will see how helpless that person is. Doesn't matter, that person is a 16 years old, 60 years old, or 80 years old, whatever the age might be, when they are very close to their death. Yeah, in Urdu language we say naza ki halat. Yeah, naza means pulling. So the angels are pulling out the soul from the body. So at that time, every one person will be helpless. It's not just the human being. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling it is every zinaf, every soul. Yeah, every soul. whether they are animals, whoever they are, when they are close to the death, they'll become very helpless. They can't do anything, they can't even move. So now we are discussing about the human beings, and particularly for the arrogant human beings who did not believe in the day of judgment. Allah is particularly talking to them and saying how useless you are. You know, when the death comes, death approaches you, you can't move your hand, you can't move your legs, you can't even move your eyes. So that's why, sometimes the eyes will be open and somebody will close the eyes because they're so helpless, they can't do anything. Yeah. It is in their own interest to prepare for this journey and turn towards Allah before this happens and before their souls are stuck in the collarbone. So before, just before, you can say just before, the soul is stuck in the collarbone, or sometimes it is called halaq, the throat. And finally, you can hear the sound. When you see your grandparents or somebody, very old people, when they're dying, and when they are in the state of naza, you can hear that, crackling sound. It is coming from their throat. Yeah. So that means the soul is being pulled from them. But we cannot categorically say, oh, because he was in the pain, he will go to Jahannam, or he had a painless death, he is going to Jannah. We don't know. We don't know what is happening. Only Allah knows. Yeah, Allahu Alam. Who goes to Jannah? Who goes to Jahannam? Allah will decide. We should not, take part in that. Of course, if you want to say something, just say, Inshallah. Inshallah, Allah will deal with this person, kindly. Iza balagati tarahi. When it reaches the collarbones. Balagat, this is from the word balag. Yeah, balag means reaching, So in Urdu also we say the sanna balugh or balugat. That means reaching the puberty. Yeah. So here balagatit, because it is feminine noun. Why? Because the soul is feminine noun in Arabic language. So that's why it is balagati. The feminine pronoun in this verb refers to the soul, which has not been mentioned. This is seen in other places in the Quran Majid. I'll give you a couple of examples. Yeah. So sometimes it is mentioned, or sometimes the pronoun is used. Yeah. Sometimes the pronoun is used. In Surah Al Qiyamah, this is a good example. Yeah. Ayat number 83, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Falawla iza balagatit hulukhum. So then why not it? The soul reaches the throat or death. Yeah. So the soul is reaching the throat. And then from the throat, the angels will pull it out and take it back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the soul belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his soul is, it's very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the souls, because he has created this soul and put into the womb of your mother. Yeah. Around 90 days or, whatever the time period which has been mentioned earlier, or 30 days or 90 days. And then the soul will stay in the body for a specific time period. Whatever time period Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given that person. And then finally, the soul will be taken back by the angels and give it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The soul will go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Surah Fatir, ayat number 45, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ma taraka ala zahriha min dabbati. It would not leave upon it, the earth, any creature. So now you see, in the earlier ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the human beings who did not believe, or even the believers, it will happen to them also. So they'll go to the throat, and from there, it will be taken away. Now Allah is saying, the earth is being referred only by a pronoun, that is, here it is ha. Yeah, Zahriha. So Ma is indicating that it is all the creatures, all the creatures. So such a suppression is customary in Arabic language and found in classical Arabic also. So sometimes Allah uses the noun, sometimes Allah uses the pronoun according to the gender, male or female. Summary of ayat number 26. The moment of death, the soul reaching the collarbones symbolizes the soul leaving the body, a state where the dying person witnesses the truth of what was previously denied, that is the resurrection. You know, this is true. Person who is dying or nearly dying, everything is coming back to his mind. What he did, good things, bad things, everything is coming to his mind. The first thing what is coming, I rejected the Yawmul Akhirah. I rejected the resurrection. So it is coming to his mind. Can he change? He can't. There is no time. Can he do tawbah? There is no time for the tawbah because he is so helpless. His limbs are not moving, tongue is not moving, eyes are not moving, nothing is moving. So he can't do anything. There is no tawbah at that time. So no turning back. The term kalla, nay or no, is used to totally reject the disbelievers' false notion that they will be left alone or not return to Allah. This is what many of the disbelievers they used to think. For example, Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab, he used to say that nothing will happen to me. You know, when I die, nothing will happen to me because I'm the clan leader. I am the in charge of Kaaba. I am the, um, money collector of Kaaba, treasurer of Kaaba. So Allah will let me go. Or I can bribe the angels and they'll let me go. Or my sons, they are so strong, they can beat these angels and I'm left alone. So Allah is saying, no, no, no. All the nonsense you are talking about, this is not going to happen. The reality is when your soul comes to the throat, that means you are coming back to me and there's no time for you to do repentance and ask for forgiveness. The struggle, the moment marks the transition between this world and the hereafter, bringing together the agony of leaving this world and fear of the coming judgment. This is true. You know, if an ordinary person is dying, maybe he will not think much. Maybe he's thinking about his sins or whatever he is. But a person is very rich. He has got so much wealth. He must be thinking, oh my God, what is going to happen with my wealth? My children, all the properties I have left, what is going to, and he is in that agony, he is in that pain. How can I leave everything and, die from this world, leave this world? Finality, it signifies the time when all opportunities for action end and the soul is prepared to meet his Lord, as further described in subsequent ayat 27 to 30. We'll see that inshallah. So this is every action is end. So the person, he cannot do anything good or he cannot do anything bad because he is useless. His body is useless. None of his limbs are, supporting him to do anything. In summary, this ayah serves as a stern reminder to mankind to not to be consumed by the immediate desires of this world, that is al-ajila, and to prepare for the inevitable arrival of the death. So a true believer, a good Muslim, he should always look forward. He should be doing all good things and try to follow the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And make sure that any of your action is not going to displease Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because when the death is approaching, we don't know. Only Allah knows when He is going to send the angels to pull our soul. So therefore, be ready and be prepared and have the yaqeen that on the day of judgment, we all have to stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give our account. Now, another scenery Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is depicting here. And this is also very scary. Ayat number 27, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَخِيلَ مَنْ رَاقٍ. And it is said, who will cure him? Let's first look at the word for word translation. Wa is an alwa watifa. This is joining the previous ayah and this ayah. Khila, it is said. Passive perfect word. Fail, madin, mabni, lil, majhul. Man is who. Preposition, harfu jar. Yeah. Raq will cure. Noun is majrur. Now, khila, here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying it is in majhul form. Yeah, madin, lil, majhul. Majhul means who is going to tell that person? Is it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the angels or the relatives? We'll see that inshallah. Who is going to tell him that, who will cure this person? Because he's dying, everybody surrounding this person will be talking to each other and then they're talking to each other. Or it is the angels. We'll see that inshallah. وَخِيلَ مَنْ رَاقٍ. And it is said, who will cure him? This expresses the severity and sensitivity of the situation because this person is leaving the earth. This is a serious matter. In any family, any part of the world, this matter is very serious. Khila, the passive verb, has great eloquence in it. In other words, such will be the severity of the situation that no one will be able to pay attention to the person who will speak these words. Now, people, they're surrounding a dying person. They will be discussing, oh, this person is dying. My mother is dying, father is dying. What shall we do now? And somebody will suggest, okay, we'll call a doctor. Or somebody will say, we'll take him to the hospital. And who is going to cure? Or some people, they say, can we call, if it is a disbeliever, they will say that can we call somebody who can chant something, yeah, who can do some magic, who can, do some, spiritual things. So all will be discussing. And this is the word khila. To put it another way, the importance of these words will make people totally different to the speaker. Everyone will be rehearsing these words. Yeah, people who are surrounding, people who know, people who hear this news, they're all making some suggestions. Why don't you call Dr. X, Dr. Y? They are very good. They will check, they will cure. And it's a sort of, people, they're discussing with each other. When the word man comes before an undefined noun, it implies severity in demand or great despair. That's what happens, isn't it? When a person is dying, people around him, they are seriously discussing. It's not, they say, maybe he can go to hospital, maybe not. No, this is a serious matter. People all discussing seriously. Let's see the other opinions. The word rah or rahim, yeah, in the original has been derived from the word ruqya, which means to resort to charming, enchanting, and exercising. And also from the word rah, which means ascending. Yeah, some people, those who don't believe, what do they do? So they call somebody who can do some charming, yeah, or enchanting or exercising, exorcist. So these people, they will come, like for example, from church, as somebody who will come and who will do some spells, put their spells. So similarly, there are some other people who can do the exorcism on, dying people. So every person, even the doctor, they are called as Raqib or Raq. Aminuddin Islahi Sahab commented, the ayah can be interpreted in two ways. Let's understand. The first interpretation is that when a person will be close to death and will be an unconscious state, the attendants will worriedly call out, is there some magician, healer, who can cure the dying person, or maybe a doctor or a hakim, somebody who can cure this person. Yeah, that's one interpretation. The second interpretation is that the attendants will say the matter is now finished. Who can cure this dying person? This, of course, is an expression of hopelessness, and when the sick person will hear it, he will become sure that the time of his departure has arrived. So finally, when they're talking and this person, he's lying down, but he can hear. Yeah, many people, until they die, they can still hear. And somebody says, that's it, there's no hope. Doctor has said, the hospital has said, he is going now. He's got only 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever the time period, and he will die. And when this person hears this, he is very upset. He's dying, and he can't do tawbah because he rejected the day of judgment. Now there's no time. He can't even speak. His speech is slurred, so he can't speak. He can't hear. He can't, see. He can't move. At that time, the angels will say, which angels are to take his soul, the angels of punishment or the angels of mercy. So now, this is another opinion that the angels will say, yeah, whether they are angels of punishment or mercy. The angels of punishment will take the bad soul, the evil person's soul. The angels of mercy will take the soul of the believers. So they will say, in other words, at that very time, the question will be decided in what capacity the dying person is entering the hereafter. If he is righteous person, the angels of mercy will take him. And if he is wicked, the angels of mercy will keep away and the angels of punishment will seize him and take him away. Subhanallah. Yeah, this is another opinion. The key aspects of ayat number 27, context of death. This ayah follows the mention of a person's leg being intertwined. In ayat number 29, it is coming inshallah, illustrating the intense pain, struggle, and desperation of the dying. The search for a savior. The word Ra, I told you, in this ayah implies someone who performs charming or spiritual healing, that is ruqya. It depicts the helpless searching for anyone like a magician, a healer, or a doctor, etc., to save them from the inevitability of the death. That a turning point. The ayah highlights the moment when the worldly life ends and the accountability of the hereafter begins, where no worldly effort can reverse the fate. This is the truth. This is the truth. As soon as the soul has left the body, what people will do to the body, either they'll bury, or they'll put it in water, or they'll burn, or do something, whatever they want to do, feed to the animals, birds, etc. Yeah. So now the soul has gone to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After the person is buried in the grave, the soul will go back to Allah, and on the day of judgment, the soul will be given back to the body. The body will be resurrected, yeah, and then the soul will enter, and then the person or everyone will have to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give their account. So divine contrast. This scene is contrasted with a believer whose soul is welcomed, while the deniers of the resurrection realize too late that their doubts were wrong. In another saying of the scholars, they say that the good souls, they will become like green birds and they will be in Jannah, already in the Jannah, but not as human beings, but as green birds. And then they will come back to the body. Then finally Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless them, pass them in the examination, and then they will go and live in Jannah as human beings. The desperation of the living, when a person is on the verge of death and the soul reaches the collarbone, that at-tarahi, their family and friends become desperate. They look around and ask if there is any doctor, healer, or enchanter who can perform a miracle, that is ruhiyah, a spiritual healing, to bring the person back. It highlights the helplessness of the humanity when Allah decrees of the death arrives. Now, one thing you have to remember, say a person is dying, yeah, but maybe Allah has not meant the intention that the person is going to die at this time. So he has given some more time. What happens? So the healer will come, doctor will come, they do some treatment, and they'll come back to life. And then they start living normal life. This means Allah has given that person another chance. But still, if the person is still arrogant, then again the time will come. And this is the final time. Then if the person has changed, he has done the tawbah, he has reverted back, he is surrendered to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then he will be in the good books of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if the person still becomes arrogant, still lives the life in the kufr, yeah, or in the shirk, then his final abode is going to be Jahannam. So the question of the angels, some scholars, including Ibn Kathir, rahimahullah, he suggests that this could be the angels asking one another, who will take his soul up? Yeah, remember I told you. So two groups of angels will be there, the angels of mercy and the angels of punishment. In this context, Raq refers to ascending. Yeah, so the angels of mercy and the angels of punishment will ask who is responsible for carrying the specific soul to the heavens. Yeah, so both the souls will go, up to the level 1, sky. And if the soul or soul belongs to a kafir, mushrik, or anybody who has not followed the Islam, he's not a believer, his soul will be thrown from that height. Yeah, but if the soul is of a believer, then the doors of other heavens will open and the soul will go up to the 7th heaven and then come back and stay for some time in the grave to answer the questions in the grave. And then a door will be opened to show the person, this is your abode in paradise. It is in the Jannah. Then again the soul will go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and will be given on the day of resurrection back. In ayat number 28, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَظَنَّ أَنَّهُ الْفِرَاقُ, and the dying one is certain that it is the time of separation. First, let's look at the word for word translation, and then we'll go to the ayah itself. Wa is aid, al-waw atifa. Yeah? So this is conjunction particle. It is joining with the previous ayah. Zanna, he is certain, or he is thinking, or he is guaranteed, he believes. Yeah, perfect verb, fail, madin. Anna is that particle, harful nasbin, man, min, akhwatu, inna. Who is it? Pronoun, damir muttasil, and al-firaq is the party. Yeah? Firaq is party. Same word we use in Urdu language also. وَظَنَّ أَنَّهُ الْفِرَاقُ. The dying one is certain that it is the time of separation. The moment of certainty. The dying person realizes that the death is inevitable and the journey to the afterlife has begun. So this is, for everyone this will happen, but if the person is a believer, he is peaceful because he knows that you know, he has not done, something to make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala angry. So therefore he is peaceful. Okay, now I am dying, I'll go to the next phase. But a person who is a disbeliever, he is worried. He is angry. He knows what is going to happen to him. He is going to end up in Jahannam. On the day of judgment, he will get a failed certificate. Separation al-firaq. This signifies the parting from family, friends, wealth, and worldly position. And this is what I was telling before, that this person is so much worried. Who will look after my family? What will happen to my property? Who is going to look after my, wealth, jewelry, everything? So he doesn't want to go. His soul is always thinking, I want to stay in the body. I don't want to leave. No further opportunity. At this point, the time for repentance or doing good deeds has passed. That's it. He cannot do. Yeah? The exception case, as I told you, the person may get cured at the end moment, but we don't know, that it is not the final time, but it might be one opportunity given by Allah or two opportunities given by Allah, whatever the numbers. And then the person will change himself, or he may not change himself. He lost the opportunity. Definitiveness, it highlights the utter helplessness of man against the decree of death. So this is guaranteed. So certainty of death, at this stage, the dying individual loses all hopes of recovery, while they may have previously been in denial or distracted by worldly life. They now have yaqeen, that is certainty, that they are leaving their wealth, family, and the physical world behind. The concept of al-firaq, that is separation, the word used in the Arabic is al-firaq, is referring to the final parting from everything familiar. Tafseer scholars note that this is the moment the soul prepares to transition into the barzakh, that is, the interval between death and resurrection. The barzakh means it's a curtain. Yeah. So what happens? The person in this physical world, he has left. And where is he gone? He has gone behind the veil. He has gone behind the wall. So we don't know where they are exactly. Only Allah knows. Context of helplessness. This ayah follows ayat number 27, where people around the dying person frantically ask, is there any healer seeking a spiritual or medical cure? Ayat number 28 serves as the response. Despite any human intervention, the individual knows the end has arrived. The agony of departure. According to Tafseer Mariful Quran, this realization is often accompanied by physical signs such as the legs becoming weak, intertwined, as mentioned in the next ayah, illustrating the utter helplessness of man before the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as I told you, all the limbs will become so weak, the person cannot move. This person, he was very strong, he was a champion, he could do anything on this earth. But now he is so helpless, he cannot move. And he knows, that's my end. I'm not going to move again. I have to leave this world. So now another scene is being depicted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when the person is leaving the earth. What is this? In ayat number 29, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَتَفَّتِ السَّاقُ بِالسَّاقِ, and the leg is bound about the leg. Let's understand this word. First, look at the word for word translation. Wa is and, conjunction particle, and waw, atifa. Yeah? So this ayah in the previous 3-4 ayahs, so they are all one subject matter. The whole 5 ayahs is depicting what happened to that person. Yeah, when his soul is reaching the collarbone, and until the soul is departed, all these 5 pictures Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying are 5 stages Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us or showing us. Yeah. At-tafati is bound. Yeah. At-tafat is bound. Perfect word, fail, madi. Yeah. As-sahu, the leg. Asa, the leg. Bisahu, about the leg. So that means one leg and the other leg. Yeah. Asahu, the leg noun is marfu. Yeah. B is preposition harfu jar, and bisahi, that is about the leg noun is majrur, jarun or majrurun, construction. Okay. So at-tafati sahu bisah, and the leg is bound about the leg. Let's understand this. The meaning of the shank, embracing the shank, yeah, is that a person will not be able to walk. This will be because of the intense weakness and helplessness. Although a day before, or a minute before, or an hour before, this person, he could run, he could jump, he could do whatever he wanted to. But when the death approaches, yeah, just in time, that is the second, when his soul is leaving the body, he will become so weak, he can't even move. He can't call people for help. His limbs, all his body part has given up. As long as a person is alive, he is vigorously active in all spheres of life. However, when he dies, it seems that his shanks have mutually embraces themselves. When a doctor loses hope in the sick person, relatives withdraw in frustration. The once obedient limbs are no longer under his control, and he has to go to his Lord with a heavy burden. Now, so this is the situation, and sometimes the doctors, if the person is in the hospital or in medical care, the doctor will say, that's it. I'm sorry, I can't do anything. In Urdu, they said that dawa kam nahi karegi, dua kijiye. So dua is the final thing. You have to pray for that person. But if the person is not a believer, so what will happen? Even if they do dua, Allah will not listen, because this person was not a believer. He rejected, the whole thing, all the ayats, if you go around, investigate, in depth, going back to Yawmul Qiyamah. This is the name of the surah also, Al Qiyamah. So all the ayats is saying that if you don't believe in Al Qiyamah, this is going to happen. If you don't believe in, Al Qiyamah, this is going to happen. So Allah is showing many phases or pictures or, still shots. This is going to happen if you do not believe on the day of resurrection. Because resurrection, Al Qiyamah, is the key. This is going to change the person's attitude. This will have a clear demarcation between a believer and disbeliever. This is the key. Some commentators have taken the word as-sahu, the leg or the shank, in its literal meaning, thereby implying that at death one leg will join the other leg. That means they'll be twisted or become very close to each other, because they can't move. They cannot open, they cannot move. Some others have taken it metaphorically in the sense of difficulty and hardship. At that time, one affliction will be joined with another affliction, and one of being separated from the world and all its enjoyments, and the other of being seized and taken to the hereafter as a culprit. And this will be experienced by every disbeliever, hypocrite, and a sinner. So this is what happens. Yeah, maybe the legs are very strong. This person might be a wrestler or whatever he is, but he can't move his legs. This is what it means. All his limbs, they give up. So they don't take any order from him. They'll become like frozen, legs. And slowly, slowly, the whole body will freeze, and this person will die. Ali bin Abi Talha, radiallahu anhu, he reported that this is the last day of the days of this world and the first day of the days of the hereafter. So there will be hardship that will meet more hardship except for he whom Allah has mercy upon. So we have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show his mercy on us when we are leaving this world. Because this is a very painful thing. People around, they may not observe. It is impossible for us. If somebody says, oh, he had a smiling face, does it mean he's going to jump? We don't know. Only Allah knows. If a person has got sad face or crying or whatever, what happens to him, we don't know. Only Allah knows. So therefore, this is the time, whatever the hardship is coming, we have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is many du'as, there are many masnoon du'as that we have to do it, in the morning, afternoon, and in the evening, that, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ease my pain, ease, the worries of the death, ease the pain of my death. So we have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his mercy. Physical agony, it refers to the final intense struggle of the death, where one leg is wrapped around the other due to pain or stiffness. When you feel, even when you really work hard in the day and you are so tired, you go to bed, and what happens? You put your two legs together so that you may get some comfort. You turn side to side to get some comfort. Finality of death, according to Hadada radiallahu anhu, it means the hardships of the world have connected with the hardships of the hereafter. Most of these ayats here is Allah is very angry. Allah is telling the people who do not believe on the day of judgment, who do not believe about their accountability. For such person is more. But it's a good news for the believers also. So they can escape, they can prepare themselves, they can be in the good book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Incapability, it suggests that the moment a person is unable to move as their legs are straightened for the shroud. Context, this ayah is part of the passage describing the arrogance of disbelievers who disregard the hereafter, only to realize the truth when it is too late to make amends. So significance, it serves as a reminder to turn towards Allah before this inevitable, helpless, and painful moment arrives. This is very, very important. This is what we have to take from this passage. We have to take a lesson from this package. This is going to happen. Allah has given different pictures to say that this is going to happen. You be careful. You be careful. You are entering a forest. Somebody will give you some pictures that these are the animals there. You be careful. So what do? You protect yourself before entering the danger zone. The agony of death, many scholars interpret this as the joining of two great hardships, the difficulty of leaving this world and the terrifying start of the next. Okay, so these are all for the disbelievers. Physical state, it refers to the literal state of dying person whose legs become intertwined or paralyzed in the final moment of life. So preparation for the burial, it is also interpreted as the feet being tied together in a shroud as the body is prepared for the final. Sometimes they put the 2 feet together and they tie the 2 toes together and they put a string around it. In some traditions, this is followed. The end of worldly affair, according to Ibn Abbas, The two shanks represent the two worlds, the last day of this being joined to the first day of the hereafter. Then in ayat number 30, this is the last ayah of the section, Ila Rabbika yawmaizi nil masah. Lord, that day will be the procession. Ila is to, harfujar preposition. Yeah. Rabbika, your Lord, is madrur, a noun, and ka is pronoun damir muttasil. Yawma is in that day. Yeah, that is the day. Yeah, when the ruh is leaving the body. Zarfuzama al masah to the driving. Noun is marfu. So let's understand very quickly, inshallah. Ila rabbika yawma izin nil masah. Your Lord, that day will be a procession. It is as if man is scolded for his indifference in preparing for this journey. So he remained busy acquiring worldly pleasures and luxuries and reached a state when in his pursuit he lost all his strength and energy. How will he now be able to reach his Lord in such a state? The final drive, the ayah signifies that there is no escape, hiding place, or refuge from Allah's decree on the day. You can't escape. Where are you going to go? The whole universe belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In modern day, somebody can say, I'll go to this particular Saturn or Uranus or somewhere I'll go. Really? And that also belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where can you go? There's no escape. Irresistible return, that driving implies a forced, inevitable journey towards the final reckoning where every human will be compelled to face their creator. There's a procession. What is the procession? So this person, when he dies, the angels of punishment, yeah, so they are going to take his soul and go towards the heaven. That's a procession. Context, this ayah comes after the description of the soul reaching the throat, that is death, and the realization that no healer or enchanter can stop the process. Judgment Day realities. It highlights that on the day of the judgment, all people will be forced to present themselves before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They cannot escape. They can't go anywhere. When the resurrection happens, again, your ruh will come back to your body. Then you have to stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give your account. In essence, this ayah serves as a reminder that all creatures will ultimately be brought back to their creator for judgment, and no escape is possible on that day. The transition of death. Commentaries like Mariful Quran explain that this ayah concludes a sequence, that is ayat number 26 to 30, depicting the agony of death. After the soul reaches the throat and the legs are joined, that is shrouded, the final drive is to the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Accountability. Tafimul Quran emphasizes that man will not be left without purpose. This driving serves as a reminder that escape is impossible. Everyone must eventually face the divine code. And the fate of the disbelievers, when all are driven to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the context of this subsequent ayah, that is 31 to 32, highlights the specific regret of those neither believe nor prayed. Inshallah, we'll discuss in the next session. Okay, so I'll stop it here. I'll start the next session, next group of ayats, inshallah. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alamin.